Hey, how's it going? I want to make a video talking about the development of my Click to Move game, which was part of this year's Cozy Spring Jam 2023. So the Cozy Spring Jam is a game jam that's 72 hours for 3 days, and it's all about like having good vibes and being able to create something that's around the spring theme. I thought it'd be pretty interesting to do it because mainly I've been doing development for my platformer game, The Caterpillar Adventure, and trying to update that and add some more levels. And since I've mainly been doing that type of stuff, I haven't been differentiating as much and being experimental, which is something I wanted to do with a game jam because last year I did it for Geo Jam, and that was a pretty good experience because it allowed me to like experiment or do things, try different things out within the 72 hours. So I wanted to try to do something similar with this one. So with my last game jam, what I did was before the jam, they like gave some like descriptions about it. So and that one was like about different like geometric shapes. So I kind of had an idea going into it before the secondary theme was announced of like what type of game I made and end up fitting. So I ended up doing the game which was like a puzzle platformer. So something like a little different, but like a little familiar. So like I can get it done within the 72 hours. And I wanted to do a similar approach to this one where before I knew it was going to be like a spring game or something like cozy. So I was thinking, oh, maybe like a 2D farming game or something like that, or an RPG, which is similar because I do like a lot of 2D work and I know like Asprite, so like pixel art stuff. So I could like take that maybe to like a new type of genre like RPG or farming, which I haven't done. But then the day of like the secondary theme, which was the day the jam started, the secondary theme was "You Are the World," and that theme really like stuck with me because I wanted to do something that like fit that theme, and I didn't. Not that I didn't think, but I wanted to do something that I like thought of more of the theme because it made me think of like games like Katamari Damacy, where you kind of control the world in a way, where you're like rolling things up and you become the world. So I wanted to kind of incorporate that idea into it, and I had like a couple ideas, but the one that I ended up liking, which was the Click to Move game, came from kind of experimenting. I had the top-down engine, which is like similar to the Corgi engine, which I'm very familiar with. It's just instead of for that one was for like platformers mainly, this one was for like top-down games like how they have like 2D Zelda and stuff and other like what's it roguelike games. So it has like those types of things, but they also had, because I'd never used it before starting this one, they had like 3D stuff, and the one that I really liked was it was like an AI pathfinder. So you click on the screen and then the guide goes around and moves to it. So I thought like it'd be pretty cool to like have it where the guy goes to something and then whatever that is it like kind of interacts and it does something weird or something odd, and then you kind of interact with the world that way. And the idea I had was for like the first level would be like to grow a plant, so that'd kind of be like the spring theme because it's like a garden almost and you're like growing the plants. But I really wanted to try it because it was like a unique control method of just like clicking and the guy goes around. It's like kind of finicky, but it was different, experimental, and I really liked it. So that was the theme and the idea we ended up going with. Once I had the idea of the type of game I was going to make, I decided to make some models so then I could design some levels around them. For this, I decided to use Blender. I wasn't too familiar with Blender because in the past I used 3ds Max in university, but I wanted to try out Blender for this project. So I ended up using like a bunch of tutorials to help me get up to speed with some of the controls of Blender, of course, and then how to create or how to like magnify or edit objects into the kind of shapes that I wanted to. So the ones in particular was like a pot and then a watering can. So that was like a little more difficult. And but thankfully with the tutorials and that type of stuff, I was able to create stuff that kind of looked like the ideas I wanted. So I was able to create something, which is good. And then for texturing and stuff, thankfully the top-down engine had a bunch of those already like within the program. So I was able to, for the most part, use those ones to add to the object and resemble the things I wanted to do. Like the can, I did like a metal one, and then the water, they had a cool water one. So thankfully I was able to do a lot of that stuff. And then from there I was able to just start prototyping. So I created a couple objects for what I wanted for the first level to be. And then from there I try to create, well, the idea of having the object click, and then when the AI clicks, you would move to the path and then interact with whatever object To get this effect, I used the trigger collision that they have, which was similar to Corgi Engine, so I had that idea already in my head that hopefully they had it, and thankfully they did. So it works similar to there. So in that one, it's like if there's an object here and you go near it, then something occurs, whether you get hit, whether something like happen. Like I do it for button presses. So if you press, like a button prompt will come up and you can press and something else happens. And but for this one, I wanted to be when you go near an object, it would either interact, either you pick it up or something else would happen. Like later on, I have it where there's like a light switch, you go to the light switch and then like the oven gives like a little light, meaning that it's turned on, and then later you can go cook or bring something there so it cooks. But for the starting one, it was to get the water into the watering can, you pick it up and then you put water in the watering can. Later you go water the plant and then the level ends. So in order to avoid the problem of having the player go with like an empty watering can to the plant and then having it like still grow the plant or still like water the plant, one thing that helped with this was having tags or having layers on the objects or a mix of both of them that allowed it for the trigger to only occur when you have this object with this tab interact with this. So a bunch of the time it wouldn't even be that the AI character is the one interacting. It'd be like, let's say for the watering can needs to interact with the water in order to get it, and then you need the water to interact with the plant instead of the watering can. Therefore, it would allow it to not like finish a level earlier than anticipated or like kind of shortcut it and avoid that like one step of the level. So that was one of the things that I try to implement to avoid like some of those issues that might happen. For the second level, I wanted to expand on the idea that was for the first level of just bringing the water to the plant, and the way that I thought of it was maybe like when you go to the plant, something pops out like a fruit, and then you take that to a stove, which once it turns on would like start cooking and then end that level. So for that, I modeled like a little stove and then some dishes on the stove, and then I wanted to turn on the stove with like I thought of like a light switch which would turn on the power. In order to like show this in the game, I added like a little spotlight which would like kind of give an indicator that, oh, the stove is on once the light turns on. So yeah, so then the process for this one would be getting the water to the plant, then the plant would pop out a tomato, you interact with the tomato picking it up, and then you would go turn on separately. You don't have to do it in that order. You can turn on the little light switch which would turn on the stove, then you take the tomato to the stove and they would finish the level. This one was a pretty good one to make. And then unfortunately I didn't have the most amount of time for this game jam because I didn't get to use the full 78 hours. I was doing other stuff, so I didn't like fully commit to it. But the third level I wanted to do was the last level of this game. It was to expand a little bit more. I thought a cool idea would be to like have like cabinets almost that swing open, and there'd be like something hidden behind it, and you would have to interact with them that way and kind of figure out the puzzle. So that was something I added to like do something different. And then also I would do it where there would be like a plate and you would have to put the thing on the plate and then try to put it on a table, so it's like you're serving the food almost. So those were the little expansions for that level. That one was fun to make. So the cabinet made like two objects pretty much. I don't know if it's the right way, but that's kind of how I did it. Whereas the object of the back part of the cabinet, the object of the door, and then once you interact with it, the object would like swing, do like a rotation swing using the animator, I think. And then that was how I did it. It was my first experience kind of animating or doing it with a 3D object, which was pretty fun. I got to do it because the 2D ones, it's just like you do a bunch of sprites and then they would do something or you would put them together. But this one was pretty fun. It was almost like a model and get into that experience. So I'm pretty happy overall with this project. I got to do a bunch of different experimental things, which was my goal, to try to like do something different. And I got to do it. We got to do it with the Blender, trying to try that out and create something with that. And the top-down engine, which I haven't used before, and play around with that. There's a couple other ideas I hope to eventually do sometime. There's one for like a sword like character, which I thought was pretty cool, or the top-down like RPG or roguelike elements itself I think are pretty cool. Maybe would be worth trying in either like another game jam or even just like a demo once I'm done with my platformer. But yeah, it was pretty good. I got to experience. Always good to like try something new, and these like game jams always help me like think outside the box with ideas, or try to do something that I wouldn't create before, or like without those like ideas, or kind of like not constrictions, but kind of like ideas. So yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I was really happy to be a part of the Cozy Jam, and yeah, that's my game, Click to Move game. Pretty good. All right, bye bye.